or indirectly affected by the events of 9/11 11 years ago? Thank you. This is what I'm speaking about today, so I hope that I will get your thinking going a little. I hope that it's respectful of the events as well as of your experiences. But I'm going to be talking about three things. I'm going to be talking about Phileas Fogg. How many people know who Phileas Fogg is? I'm going to be talking about 9/11, and then I'm going to be talking about Derryfield. So bear with me. I hope by the end you've made all the connections. Phileas Fogg is the main character in a book written by Jules Verne called Around the World in 80 Days. How many people have read the book? A little bit. What was interesting about the book is that in it, Jules Verne and Phileas recognized that the world is getting smaller. Phileas said that he could travel around the world in 80 days, which in those times was pretty good. And it was based on the fact that transportation had improved, railroads were better, boats were better, and the world was getting smaller. Not physically, but metaphorically. And so Phileas takes the challenge and actually a bet and travels around the world in 80 days. I looked online a couple of nights ago, and a gentleman by the name of Martin Braun tried to reenact it, although he used plane flight, and he was able commercially to fly around the world in 3 days. So for those of you who are looking for challenges, that might be something you take on. So Verne and Braun demonstrated that the world was smaller, and just recently we found out that we could do it in 3 days. Now I go to September 11th. On September 11th, as you know, it's 11 years ago tomorrow, the World Trade Center was attacked, the Pentagon was attacked, and thankfully the fourth plane ended up in a Pennsylvania field. The world got smaller on that day because all of a sudden the rest of the world was in a way trying to do their best to support us. And it was a great experience. How many of you have been to Ground Zero? How many of you have been to the little church there? And do you remember what was in the church? They have a rotating representation of what the world provided, the support that they gave us. And there's banners and posters and letters. And in my mind, the world became smaller that day. We all became one as we tried to deal with a horrific experience that our country was experiencing. And it was a really interesting day 11 years ago, or actually an interesting year, as our country had adjusted to the issues that 9/11 presented. Now we move to Derryfield. How does Derryfield relate to all this? And in my mind, the way it relates is that how many of you have done service before? Many of you have done service. This is where, as an individual, you step out and try to make a difference. And the difference can be in the soup kitchen in Manchester. It can be doing a habitat tour down into the south. It can be going to the Dominican. Those of us who went to the Dominican 2 years ago. It can be going to Nepal for medical stuff. It can be going, Mr. Sanford, go to Ecuador, the Galapagos. Those are all service trips, and what that's doing is taking our lives and sharing them with others. It is making the world smaller. And that's what you should be thinking about, is each of you, when you're doing service, is sharing your strengths and your abilities with others, whether it's locally, nationally, or internationally. So what I'd like you to do is take a minute to think about how you can make a difference. Phileas traveled the world, and he was basically taking on a bet, and he traveled the world without caring about anything except getting around the world in 80 days. The world came to us and helped us, and now my challenge to you is how can you challenge others? So let's take a minute, please.